Hey guys, Socket here, and today we're doing a Cospri's Malice Cast on Crit Assassin Patreon build review for Tyler. Hey Tarke, I'm a new player. I started in Metamorph League. I follow build guides on YouTube and PvE Ninja. I'm slowly learning how the Atlas works, and I've cleared my first couple of tier 16 maps on a Cast on Crit Cyclone Assassin. I've killed all Conquerors with 3 Watchstones, but not Shaper. The main issue I'm having right now is survivability, flasks, and items. Crafting / knowing what an upgrade is. I'm pretty sure I'm set on gems, except for a defensive skill like Steel Skin or Molten Shell. I believe I need more life as well. Any insight would be great help, thank you. So, first off, just like huge props to Tyler for clearing as much of the endgame as he has as a new player. Really good job there. I did take a couple of quick looks at some Cospri setups, just like on PvE Ninja and seeing the ones which kind of I like the looks of. Since it isn't a build I've done that much with. A few things just to kind of like point out from the get-go for this. Obviously, going dual Cospris? Yeah, going dual Cospris is a certain kind of build. If you're playing this in a like, I just want to delete bosses, zoom, you're not going to go super tank with it. You can go pretty tanky with it. I've seen a lot of people, they drop this side of the tree, they just come in, fill in Sun Life, and then like go Unnatural Instincts and Meeks and all this other stuff. We're going to assume that you're doing this on a kind of normal-ish budget. And yeah, one thing which is worth mentioning, there's attack speed breakpoints, and like there are thresholds that you need to hit with Cospris. I haven't played enough of the build to go into all the numbers on that, but if you Google like Cospris attack speed breakpoints, there'll be loads of like threads that will come up. There's a few people on YouTube who've done like much more in-depth guides of it, which are worth looking on that. But basically, with the way it works, if I just bring it up real quick, trigger socketed cold spell on melee critical strike. Nearly everything which has a trigger X on X, they've got some kind of internal cooldown. And you'll have a situation where if you get too much attack speed and not enough reduced cooldown reduction, you can actually start missing out on casts. So you actually need to be very careful about the amount of attack speed nodes you take on these trees. It's not the kind of thing you want to just blindly copy off someone else's setup. Definitely just do a little bit of research on that. So you might be a situation where acuity, coordination, and precision, that might actually be too much attack speed. And also you've got to factor in your elusive effect. So Google that, basically. Be careful about having attack speed on gear. It's a whole thing. Going for this kind of a tree, just very easy things to add in, since it's level 88 tree. It'd be coming up to grab Purity of Flesh, potentially grabbing Sovereignty if that let you run more defensive auras, filling in 2-point jewels. A very nice way of getting a big chunk of defense in this build would be shoving in a Timeless Jewel here. You could shove in a Divine Flesh, potentially. You could shove in Wind Dancer from Marrakech. You could do stuff with Block, even. Timeless Jewels are great, and you've got the perfect routing to just shove one in here and convert Mind Over Matter, so that's something I would definitely look into. But otherwise, yeah, fill in life, get the life nodes, maybe cut some damage. You probably don't need Sanctity regen. You definitely don't need Divine Fervor, because you're not going to need the Wed there. So that's something we can cut down right away. Otherwise, though, the tree looks pretty much spot on. This is like what most people seem to run for these builds. Maybe you could add in Resourcefulness, 5% life, a little bit of res for 2 points. But tree looks pretty solid. You've probably copied this exact setup off someone, but nothing wrong with that. Especially if you're a newer player and you're still getting your head around the game. Let's have a quick look at some of the links and then some of the items, and then we'll just kind of like offer some options as I think of them. So, Frostbolt, Hypothermia, Ice Nova. A lot of people run Life Leech, so they'll go like trigger skills, then Life Leech on there. Not necessarily Hypothermia. So yeah, Ice Nova, Life Leech, Conk he's got on that one. This guy's gone for Frostbolt, Life Leech, Ice Nova. This one, Frostbolt, Life Leech, Frostbomb. Depends on like what alternate setups they go for. But a lot of people run Life Leech. Maybe try Life Leech, see if you prefer it. Frostbolt, Life Leech, Frostbomb. Yeah. Try just messing around with some of the setups there. So maybe drop that for Life Leech. Here you've got the Frostbite, Frostbomb automated stuff going on here. You've got Vol, Ice Nova, Ellie Focus, Cast on Crit, Cyclone, Conk Effect, Inspiration. I haven't played enough of those builds. That doesn't necessarily look wrong. Crit Strikes is probably... What's your crit chance at? So let's see. Oh, your crit's really low. Wait, is your config screwed? Okay, your config screwed up. So crit chance, you have power charges. Yeah, probably run Crit Strikes. Do you need the inspiration? Got a mana cost of 3. You're probably fine. If you're really desperate, you could always take Lucidity. Then you'd have a mana cost of 0. Try dropping that. Run Critical Strikes. You want your crit chance as high as possible, because if you're not critting, then the build just doesn't really function. But here we've got Cyclone, Cast on Crit, Cold Damage, Conk, Crit Strikes. Cyclone, Cast on Crit, I still have a Fortify Inspiration, Wicked Cold. Ice over Crit Strikes, add a Cold, Cast on Crit, Hypothermia. Cast on Crit Inspiration, add a Cold, Early Focus. Crit Strikes, Conk. I mean, there's some variation. I would probably run Crit Strikes because I'd want the consistency. You've got Precision, Hatred, Herald of Ice, and Latent. I don't think you really need the Herald of Ice. I'd be tempted to drop the Herald of Ice. I don't know how necessary it is. Especially if you're not gonna... Like, if you're gonna run, like, Herald of Ice, Curse on hit, Assassin's Mark on it, fair enough. Yes, the explosions feel good. But I'd consider dropping that. Also, yes, I made a good point in chat. The Elemental Focus, it's going to give you the most damage, but especially if you're running the Herald of Ice, if this Ice Nova, which is like your main DPS Ice Nova, is linked to Ellie Focus, then that's not freezing, and then if you're not freezing, then your Herald of Ice becomes a bit less freezy. So I would probably drop the Elemental Focus there. You could keep the Inspiration, but I would drop the Ellie Focus. So let's do that. Also, do we have inspiration charges active? There we go. Cool. Right. Precision, Hatred, and Leiden seems fine. Again, you could experiment with taking Sovereignty, and then if you took Sovereignty, you could then maybe shove in a Zealotry on top. Yeah, looks doable. Are you running Flesh and Stone? I would definitely run Flesh and Stone if you're not. Yeah, definitely run Flesh and Stone. For Flesh and Stone, you're going to get a huge survivability boost because you really, really want that AoE blind around you. And since you're a Cycling build, you're just always in the thick of the pack. You want to be blinding nearby enemies. Blinding nearby enemies will be a huge, huge defensive boon. Then drop those points again. When you've got Vortex, Bone Chill, Hypo, Unburnt Ailment, so you're running a Vortex just to slow things. Can also run a Vortex Curse on hit setup if you want to. If you haven't got Assassin's Mark on a ring, which I haven't actually looked at, I should have looked at that first, sorry. Dash, Second Wind, I love Dash. Steel Skin, I only like Steel Skin if you've got enough strength for Steel Skin. If you haven't got enough strength, I'd much rather just run like a Cast and Damage Taken Immortal Call. So let's have a proper look at your gear. So you've got the 2 Cospris. You've got a helmet with 5 life. Right, okay. When you're a life build, you... I'm sorry. I've never seen a 5 life helmet before. When you're a life build, it's supposed to get life on like every single... I don't know why that's so funny. Okay. When you're playing a life build, it's really important to get as much life in every single slot as possible. This helmet is trash if it's only giving you 5 life, so we're gonna recraft this. This is a no-go. Carcass Jack, yep, solid. It's giving you some aero damage. It's giving you some AoE. It's giving you some auras. It's giving you some life. Good. Your gloves have 9 life. Okay. Right. I think I can see the survivability issue. Okay, so we're gonna replace your gear with actual life rolls on it. These have 70 life. They've only got 10% movement speed though, so these are on the way out. This Ami is okay. It's got 55 life and crit chance, but you want a crit multi-Ami or a Pandemonius, that's on the way out. This, okay, actually has some decent stats on there. It's got some good resists, 44 life. You could get better, but that's fine. Bat ring, good. I'm into that. 71 life, double res. Yeah, again, okay. So your rings I'm chill with. These slots, nah. They're on the way out. This belt has no life on it, okay. So the main reason that you were having survivability issues, like, you had this build that was doing all this damage, so you could, like, face roll the bosses. But you're like, but dude, I die all the time. The reason why you're dying is you didn't have the defense there. Also, it doesn't look like you've got bleed removal, so your flask setup isn't that optimal either. So for new players, really important things that you want in your flasks. Staunching. Staunching removes bleeds. If you're like, dude, I die randomly, I don't know what killed me, you probably just died to a bleed. Bleed gets applied by certain attacks. Puncture is the main one. And then corrupting blood, that's when you see like little stacks building up on the top left of your screen. Yeah, have to have staunching. You need bleed removal somewhere in your gear. Very important. Warding. Warding removes curses. Lots of very spooky curses in this game. If you're running LE weakness maps and you're barely res capped, then you're basically at like 40 res the entire map. Make sure you're running a warding flask. Very, very important. Freeze removal, which you don't have. Heat. Heat removes freeze. If you're frozen, you can't do anything. That feels bad, man. Make sure every single build you play has a way to remove bleeds, way to remove curses, way to remove freezes. Most important things. So your flasks are all gonna go, I'm afraid. So that's a nope. That's a nope. That's a nope. That's a nope. You don't need a mana flask because your mana cost is so low. You should be completely fine. If you're really struggling, you could take Lucidity and you'd have a mana cost of 0. Don't need a mana flask. But you are a new player and you're doing surprisingly well. The tree is solid. Would maybe drop some, you know, drop some damage, get more life in, take that stuff later, and obviously get movement speed on your boots. So, let's... Links-wise, your links are basically spot on. I would drop the steel skin since you don't have the strength. Dash, I agree with. Vortex is fine. This, add the flesh and stone. This is fine. This is fine. This, drop that, try running life leech. That'll make you feel a lot tankier. So now we'll just recraft your gear, and we'll just talk about some of the basics of crafting gear. Actually, I'll show you what I've been collecting in SSF, because it might just be a bit easier if you kind of just, like, see the items in front of you. So obviously in SSF, I can't use Pee-wee Trade to buy things. So, you know, I've got, like, shitty level 73 character, just about to do maps. 4k life with my captures, right? So in SSF, the way that I, like, consider if is an item worth saving for later, you can craft up to 70 flat life on gear using the crafting bench. And 70 life is like the threshold. If you have less than 70 life on a main piece, so that's helmet, gloves, boots, then it's kind of like, why am I using it? Now, obviously, I'm using it 0 steps because it's unique and it's giving me the spell dodge. Okay, fair enough. These gloves, these are 69 life, triple res. So these are pretty good SSF gloves. They've got basically crafted life, triple res. Feels good, man. This helm, it's got the 99 life, and then it's got the good res on there. So if I pick up a pair of gloves and they've got like solid double res on there and the room for crafted life, they're okay. Those are a decent pair of starter gloves. The bare essential for your gear, you're looking for minimum like 70 life and then at least like 2-3 res. If you don't need the res on that slot, then you're just looking for whatever pair of gloves give you the most life, right? So anything which is kind of stashed like that, I keep it, I put it to the side. So I have like search for life stuff. So you can see, okay, this helm, why did I keep this helmet? It's not that great. It's only got 94 life, and it's got whatever res, but it's got 34 dexterity. So if you're a build which needs the dexterity, it's got, like, above average life, because we're calling 70, like, the minimum. So it's got, like, decent life. It's got a little bit of res, a little bit of dex. It's on the bottom end, but it's got an open prefix, and there are some good prefixes you can craft. So that's kind of like, okay, it's okay-ish. I can see why Tarke put it to the side. These gloves, they don't look that great. Why does Tarke put these to the side? They've got double res, okay, they've got the hybrid life roll on there, so you can still craft life. So these with crafted life would be a pair of 98 life gloves with 2 okay-ish res. Bit trashy, whatever. Why has Tarke kept these? Okay, so these are pretty decent. They've got good life, 87 life. They've got strength roll, which a lot of builds need strength. It's got a lot of chaos res, and it's got an open suffix, so you could craft another slot on there. This is the kind of things you want to be putting aside early on. Once you're more established in the league, then this stuff isn't really worth picking up anymore. But early on, this is just the kind of stuff that you want to be keeping an eye out for. So these are the kind of things you want to be looking for. So you can see, why did I keep these? They've got 2 solid res. They've got the life leech on there, and they've got space for crafted life. So that's basically what we're going to put into your gear now. So I'm not going to fill in all your resists perfectly. Cap out your resistances. Make sure you have at least 75 fire, cold, and lightning. Being slightly overcapped is pretty decent for stuff like weakness maps. And then try and get some chaos res on your character. Try and get at least positive 20. If you've got positive 20 chaos res, feels good, man. You need chaos res. I nearly consider it mandatory these days to have at least like 0 chaos res, because you'll be minus 60 after killing Katava. So we'll just fill in some slots. So you're going for mostly just pure evasion gear, since you're an acro phase acro build. Since you took acro phase acro. So you're going to want life. Again, at least 70, because that's what you can craft. Ideally, you'd want more. And then whatever resist that you're missing. Again, going for stuff like Ataxion on gloves, a bit iffy, because you need to think about the attack speed thresholds with proccing your cyclones. So if we were just putting the bare minimum life on gloves, helm, boots, ammo, we'll then look at what your values look like. So again, for the helmet, you can get a lot of life on a helmet. Helmet is a slot where you really want to be looking for a natural drop roll, because you can get a lot of life on helms. So you can see they go up to 99 life, and then you can also get the hybrid life. You can get a lot of life on a helmet. So you want to be, for a helmet, so gloves and boots, 70 life. Helmet, you want at least kind of like 90. So that's either like a tier 1, tier 2 roll plus hybrid, or just like just a solid base roll. So let's just say that you had like a decent tier 2 roll, and then hybrid, then whatever resist you can get. Drop that in. Boots, make sure you have your 30% movement speed. 30% movement speed boots, super important. Again, you're going for evasion because you're playing an acro phase acro build. If you want to just buy something cheap off trade, I would recommend it Zero Step. Zero Step is very solid because they can go up to 75 life. They can give up to 60 in spell dodge. The spell dodge is the most important role, so look funds with the most spell dodge possible. You have loads of evasion, 30% movement speed. They're also very easy to apply enchants to. So you could look for damage pens if you haven't killed recently, would be very good while bossing. You could go for movement speed if you haven't been hit recently, if you just want to map a bit faster. So you went for the pen because you wanted to like boost your single target. Shove those in the build. Okay, so for the amulet, what are you looking for an amulet? You're a crit build. So if you're playing a crit build, you have to have crit multi on your amulet. If you don't have crit multi on your amulet, that feels bad, man. Ideally, you would save up and you'd buy a Pandemonius. This is what most people end up running on Cospris. It gives the chilling, the blinding, the 20 pen, but I don't know what sort of money you've got lying around right now. So let's say that you don't have the Pandemonius. So let's say that you just craft one. Then you'd be like, okay, what stats do you need? So your strength is pretty low. So we're going to try and push as much strength as we can. Also seems like you need a little bit of dex. So we'll go for a strength and dex ammo. Let's just say that you just used Pandy's really cheap in Trade League. Oh, okay, in that case, we're going to give you a Pandemonius. If you get one with a good cold roll, great. Let's shove that in the build. Okay, so now Flash and Stone isn't as needed because now you've got a way to blind enemies because you're blinding chilled enemies on hit. And 20 pen. It's really nice. It's 100 C in softcore. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. If you haven't got the Muns for the Pandemonius though, and you were crafting an Ami, you'd be looking for, again, crafted life on Jory is 55. So for Jory, my like life rule is a bit different. I want at least 55 life and everything. Really, I look for like 60, 70 because you want to get those higher tiers. And then you'd want global critical strike multiplier. You want at least like tier 2. And then you'd be looking for like crit chance, any attributes you need, any resistances you need. But yeah, you've got enough crit that you would need the crit chance. But yeah, you want the crit multi, you want the life, and then you want like strength or something, or all res. But yeah, and then for your belt, ideally an abyssal belt, because if you have an abyssal belt, then you can shove another slot in there. Otherwise, go for a leather belt. You could also go for a heavy belt, I guess, if you needed the strength, but ideally get Stygian. And you can get a lot of life on belts. Very high source, you can get up to 99, much like helmets. So you want, again, at least 70. Anything with less than 70 life, why are you equipping it? If it's got less than 70, don't equip it. You can get some interesting mods on belts. So ideally, cap out your res on your helmets, your gloves, your rings, and your ami, boots, all that other stuff. Because there's lots of very powerful things you can get that a lot of people don't really value that much when it comes to belts. If you search for flasks, you can get increased flask charges gained, reduced flask charges used, increased flask effect duration. My favorites are reduced flask charges used and then increased flask charges gained. Reduced flask charges used is really, really nice. It's very noticeable. Once you get enough of it, you then start getting extra uses of your flasks. You notice it a lot. People do not value the flask mods on belts enough. If you could get 70 life and like double solid good flask mods, you'll notice it. You'll feel a lot better for having it. So something to look into. But go for at least kind of like that. So now with like pretty basic gear, very realistic, you've now got like 5k life. Really, you'll want to be going for like 6k minimum. For softcore, like 5.5k minimum. But like at least 6k life and then layers of defense. So the layer of defenses you have in your build would be elusive is pretty solid. Like elusive is a good layer of defense. The reduced damage taken from crit strikes is solid. Then you've got the dodges. You've got the blinds. Thank you. From Pandemonious. You've got the chilling and the freezing of enemies. That's another layer of defense. So you want to be thinking like, how can I layer my defenses? How can I make my build feel tankier, right? So those are the kind of things you're looking into. So the way that you set up your build wasn't necessarily wrong, right? It was just that your gear had pretty laughable life rolls, which is why I laughed like an idiot for 10 minutes over your 5 life helmet before. At that point, you then want to start looking into good jewels, and then I'll finish up talking about like proper flask usage. So for jewels, my rule if I'm playing a life build, you want a minimum of life. Has to have life on it. You can get 7% life on a jewel. Very, very strong. So, for me, it's like must have 7% life, at least one damage mod, or like utility. So let's say that my build really needed strength. Then I wouldn't mind getting strength as an extra fluff mod on a jewel. Or like, what's that? I really need resist. I don't mind getting some resist as a fluff stat. But you want at least life, one damage mod. So you're a crit build, so you want the crit multiplier. And you could go for global crit strike multiplier, crit multi for spells, or Ellie, but so got the basic bitch one. So that, and then do you need attributes? Do you need resists? If not, just go for more damage. But bare minimum, say you just got life, single damage. And then we throw that in, and then we'll see what your totals look like. Right. Okay. So now, with a 95 tree, if you play your current build to 95, you have 5.7k life with very basic gear rolls. Now, you had a searching jewel, which was giving you just life. It wasn't giving you chance to gain onslaught or anything like that. So that's no good. The reason why you use abyss jewels, generally speaking, is to get flat damage. Or you're doing it to get onslaught generation. So you can get onslaught generation on a murderous or a searching eye jewel. So you're looking for life. You can also get global critical strike multiplier on here. But you're looking for that, onslaught on kill. Then if you get like one other usable mod, that'd be great. So other usable mods would be, again, attributes, resists, crit multi, crit chance, attack speed if you need it. But again, attack speed's a bit iffy with your build. So there are these thresholds you need to keep an eye out for. You're looking for at least that as the bare essentials. So now we'll redo your flasks. So you're an acro build. Right. You want to scale your evasion up, so we're going to shove a life flask of staunching in there, because you didn't have bleed removal before. Either run a catalyzed eternal. That means it... Can I show you it in game? Do I have some options to show you? I'm just going like overly in depth because new player. So catalyzed eternal. The reason why you want catalyzed on eternals, but you wouldn't, for example, want it on a divine, is it's about the amount it recovers over the duration. So this recovers 2.5k over 2.7 seconds, so it's like a big heal over time. Whereas this is seething, so it's an instant 1k heal. So it's just boom, press it instantly, heal for 1k, it's got 3 uses. So you'd want something like that. Button there. Quicksilver of Adrenaline, because you want to go fast, and if you're running a Quicksilver Flask, you're running a Quicksilver Flask because you want to move quickly. So, if you want to move quickly, you want to move fast, right? If you don't want to move fast, don't run a Quicksilver. For prefixes, if I'm playing a Pathfinder, I like Perpetual. Otherwise, I like stacking Chemists with the reduced fast charges used, so you get an extra usage out of it, and then you can stack it with like the Belt mod and all this other stuff. So let's say that you run a Quicksilver of Adrenaline. You need a Diamond Flask because you're a crit build. So we'll do a Diamond Flask. Again, I like Chemists, but you can use whatever prefix you prefer. You need Warding, so we'll make this your Warding Flask. Boom. And then you've got 2 open slots. So we still need freeze removal. So we need 1 more magic flask with freeze removal. So we're going to go for a Jade for freeze removal. Put heat on there. And then say it's a chemist. And now you've got some options. So you've got your core essentials covered. You've got bleed. You've got curse. You've got freeze, and you've got movement speed boy. So, if you wanted to at this point, you could then get another magic flask to get something like shock immunity, which is very powerful defensively. Or you could say, I've got my core essentials covered, I'm now going to run a DPS flask. DPS flask I'd recommend for your build is a Ziri's Promise, is a very solid option. Ziri's Promise is really great because it's also kind of defensive because it gives you a little bit of extra leech, because it gives 2% of chaos damage to each life. You gain 50% of any damage as extra chaos damage, so there's a nice little chunk of extra damage there. And it gives you chaos res, so it's kind of defensive at the same time, so that could be a option for you. You could also run a Wise Oak, which is another very strong flask. What Wise Oak does is it gives you up to 15% elemental penetration, which is huge. Ele Pen is very strong. And during flask effect, 10% reduced damage taken of each element for which of your uncapped Ele res is lowest. Basically what that means is if all of your elemental resistances are the same, you get 10% damage reduction to all and 15 pen to all. If you're using this just for the damage, you need to make sure your cold res is the highest res, because that will give you the 15 penetration. So you're getting 15 pen for your highest res and 10 damage reduction for your lowest res. But if you've got perfectly balanced resistances, they're all the same, you get 10% LE damage reduction, 15 triple pen. Ziri's Promise is going to be easier to use. If you can balance your resist perfectly, the Wise Oak would be better defensively. So that's what I would recommend for your setup that way. So if you made those changes, you'd be looking at just shy of 6k life. If you then push your gear to get better, you'd be looking at 6k life. For a new player, your character's very well established. You've done very well. Would recommend looking into the attack speed threshold things I mentioned. Looking into Pee-wee Ninja. Trying to think about why people are running the certain slots they're using. Again, seriously consider running a Timeless Jewel here. Again, good options for Timeless Jewels would be, as this guy was running a Brutal Restraint. This gives you the Wind Dancer node, which is reduced damage taken if you haven't been hit recently. You're also going Acro Phase Acro, meaning you won't be hit very regularly. So when you do finally get hit, it's got a big chunk of mitigation on that hit. And you can see that this guy went for the Wise Oak and the Ziri's Promise setup. So yeah. Anyway. I'm Tarke. I hope you found that mildly helpful. Have a good day. Bye-bye.